So just one sneak preview of where all this is going. There is good reason why 666 is a good number to represent Solomon. And we say that in Revelation 13:18, that when it says this beastly figure, his number, the number of a man, his number is 666, that this is talking about Solomon. There's a good reason why this passage is in view, and it's because this passage and this number and 1 Kings 10:14 in particular, not just any old reference to what Solomon did anywhere in the story, but in particular the very first verse that starts this whole hinged downfall of Solomon and Israel is the ideal reference point for describing what went wrong with Solomon, because this is the common Hebrew form of expression of citing an entire text, an entire passage based on the beginning part. So in Hebrew, Genesis is called Bereshit, in the beginning. That's not surprising, because also in English from Latin we have Genesis, which means beginnings. But some of the other books of the Torah are more surprising. Exodus is called Shmot, which means names. Why would you call Exodus names? It's not a book of names. Oh, but it starts off, the first significant word in the text is, these are the names. So the Hebrew tradition is to cite a passage based off of the first sentence or the first key word, whatnot. Likewise, Leviticus is Vayikra, which means he called, and he called. Why would you call Leviticus something so boring as and he called? Because that's how the first sentence starts. And he called Moses, the Lord called Moses and spoke to him. The grammar of Hebrew is different, so that the verb comes before the subject in this case. Numbers is Bamidbar, in the desert, in the wilderness. That's the first key phrase in Numbers. Deuteronomy is called Devarim, which means words. It's kind of a boring title, but Deuteronomy starts with, these are the words that Moses spoke to Israel. This is the way that Hebrew cites passages. Jesus on the cross said, my God, why have you forsaken me? He's citing Psalm 22. I believe Jesus had the full psalm in his heart, including, it eventually turns around to a more positive side, where he's not without hope. He knows that I will tell of your name to my brothers in the midst of the congregation. I will praise you. And it ends up actually in a very positive and hopeful manner. But it begins with grieving. And so I think Jesus' cry on the cross, my God, why have you forsaken me, is certainly a cry of great grief under the taking on the sins of the world and the wrath of God. But it's not a faithless, hopeless, utterly despairing cry, because he's citing the beginning of Psalm 22 with the rest of how it ends up in his mind. So this is the Hebrew form of citation: is take the first verse, the first key phrase, and so 666 stands right at the head of everything Solomon did to break the laws of kings, Deuteronomy 17, to lead Israel down the wrong idolatrous path, ultimately leading to her Babylonian exile. So 666 is the perfect identifier for the whole second half, let's say, of the story of the hinge verse, the whole second half of the Old Testament story from Solomon's downfall onwards.